You ever blow out birthday candles alone? I did. Just me, a $6 cake from the grocery store and a $30 bottle of scotch I didn't even want to open. 30 years old and I might as well have not existed. I'm Tim Blake, 30 years old, mechanical engineer. I live just outside Kansas City. I'm not flashy, not dramatic, but I remember everything, especially silence. That night, I sat at the edge of my bed with the TV off, room dead quiet. No distractions, just the weight of it all pressing into my ribs. I wasn't expecting fireworks, but I was expecting something. Anything. Then, a week later, or right when I'd finally told myself to let it go, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother. Hey Tim, can you send $1,800 by Friday? We're planning your dad's 50th, gonna rent the lake house and need to put down the deposit. No, sorry we missed your birthday. No, how are you? Not even a goddamn emoji. Just a dollar amount. I stared at that message for a full minute before I said anything. And even then, it wasn't out loud. It was just a feeling, something cold and surgical clicking into place. I didn't reply, but I did open my laptop, and I started making a list. 3 days after that text, I blocked every single one of them. Mom, Dad, my sister Emily, even and Cheryl, who always played both sides like a professional diplomat. Gone. No warning. No note. Just silence returned in full. The truth? That $1,800 wasn't the problem. I could have wired it that afternoon. But it was the insult. The assumption. Like I was some automatic ATM with no need for respect, just output. They forgot my birthday. And then they remembered my wallet. I wasn't angry. I was done. My phone buzzed again the next day, this time from my dad. Heard you're being difficult. Just send the money so we can lock the date. You know how much this means to your mother. I read it 3 times. Not a single mention of me. Of what I might need. Not a word about my birthday. Just pressure. So I logged into our shared mortgage platform because yeah, stupid me, I co-signed their refinance last year. Helped them qualify. They got a better rate because of my credit score. I clicked freeze disbursement. Then I opened my bank account and removed the joint authorization I had with Mom. The one I'd set up to help them cover emergency expenses. No more safety net. Not for them. I changed my locks the next morning. And when I got home from work that evening, I sat down and wrote a single sentence on a blank document. You will pay me back. Not just the money. The respect. The years of taking me for granted. All of it. And I'd get it without ever raising my voice. They wanted a transaction? Fine. Let's talk balance. A week of silence passed. I didn't flinch. Not when they emailed. Not when they called from burner numbers. Not even when Emily left a voicemail sobbing about how Mom's really upset and doesn't understand what she did wrong. I didn't owe them an explanation. Let them sit in the silence they gave me. Then on a Thursday morning, 2 officers showed up at my door. Timothy Blake, the taller one, asked, hand resting near his belt. Yes. We've had a missing person report filed for you. I blinked. What? Your mother filed it. Claimed you hadn't been responding for 2 weeks. Said you'd been mentally unstable lately and she was worried about your well-being. My jaw locked. I didn't yell. I simply stepped aside and let them in. I showed them my work laptop, my recent messages, my security footage from the ring cam. I even offered them coffee. They left 20 minutes later, slightly embarrassed and completely clear that I wasn't missing. But it told me everything I needed to know. They weren't worried. They were panicking. Without me, the money stopped flowing. The mortgage was frozen. The accounts were untouchable. And now they were escalating from guilt to control. I opened my filing cabinet that night and pulled out every receipt from the past 5 years. I added it up. $203,480. Tuition for Emily's master's program. Medical bills for my father's back surgery. Down payments. Bailouts. Rent gaps. Every cent documented. And I realized something. They didn't just forget my birthday. They erased me from the family the moment I stopped being useful. Now I was going to send them a bill. I sent the invoice on a Sunday night. No message. No greeting. Just a PDF with one clean line at the top. Outstanding personal loan, full repayment requested. I itemized everything. Dates. Amounts. Names. Bank transfers. Even the time I sold my car so Emily could cover her first semester at NYU. I listed it all. At the bottom? Total due, $203,480. Due date, 30 days from receipt. The silence that followed was delicious. 3 days later, Mom finally cracked. What is this, Tim? Are you serious? Families don't keep receipts. I didn't respond. So she followed up with, "You were never supposed to expect it back. That's not what family does." Funny. I thought family didn't forget your birthday. Next came Emily, panicked, furious. "You're threatening us with debt? We're not a business, Tim." And finally, Dad, "Cut the crap. You're not getting a dime." So I called my attorney. Not a litigator. Not some bulldog in a suit. An auditor. I paid him a retainer and said 5 words: I want it all documented. If they wouldn't respect boundaries, they'd respect paperwork. That week, every financial favor I ever gave them was formally converted into legal debt. Loans with terms. Signatures. Proof. I sent a certified letter with the demand. And then I waited. For a family that treated me like an afterthought, they sure were sweating now. The next time my phone buzzed, it wasn't them. It was Chase Fraud Protection. "We've detected multiple unauthorized login attempts on your account." They were trying to take what they couldn't ask for. They were trying to break in. It was subtle at first. A failed login here. A verification code I didn't request. Then a password reset link for my brokerage account sent at 2:17 a.m. That's when I knew. They weren't going to pay me back. They were going to rob me. I locked down everything. 2-factor on every account. Biometrics on my phone. I changed the answers to every security question. Mom's maiden name wasn't Anderson anymore, it was Go To of my life. I filed a fraud report with my bank and pulled my full credit report. Smart move. There were 2 new credit card applications I never filed. One under my name. One under a version of my name with a typo. Classic move for skirting credit flags. They were getting desperate. But here's what they didn't know: I'd already pulled the pin on the grenade. The mortgage? I froze it under the clause they signed when I co-signed failure to maintain shared contribution. Default was 1 letter away. The car they used? I still technically owned it. Title in my name. I reported it as under disputed usage and had it towed the next day. They were unraveling and I wasn't even in the room. A week later, I got an email from their lawyer. Not a good one, some budget attorney scraping Yelp reviews for clients. "This demand is not enforceable. You gifted this money. You cannot reclaim it." I forwarded it to my auditor, who sent back 1 line. "Let's see how fast they talk when the IRS gets involved." That was the next move. We filed a retroactive audit request. Every dollar I gave them? Reported. Every unclaimed gift above IRS thresholds? Flagged. They dodged responsibility for years. But now? Now the government wanted to talk. My auditor filed Form 3949, the kind that tips off Uncle Sam about unreported income and questionable transfers. We attached my financial records, transfer logs, screenshots, and one very tidy spreadsheet showing 5 years of payments totaling over $200,000. A week later, my parents got a letter from the Department of the Treasury. They'd been living tax-free on my dime for years. Now they had to explain it. And here's the kicker: if they claimed it was a gift, they'd violated gift tax thresholds and failed to file. If they claimed it was a loan, then they owed me with interest. Checkmate. Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. "Tim, please. We didn't mean for it to get like this. Just come to dinner. Let's talk like a family. We can fix this." Dinner? Now they wanted to set the table? 2 days later, I got a knock at the door. It was Emily. She looked tired, pale, like she hadn't slept. "I'm not here to fight," she said, holding up her hands. We need time. Please. You can't destroy everything." I said nothing. Just watched her. "You're going to ruin us," she whispered. I finally spoke. Calm. Even. "You did that yourselves." She left crying. I didn't follow. That night, I got a text from Dad. "We're selling the Lexus. We'll start paying you back in pieces. Just stop this audit nonsense." Too late. It was already in motion. They weren't making payments. They were bleeding. It took less than 2 weeks for the Lexus to disappear from their driveway. I didn't say a word. Just noted it. 3 days later, the jewelry started showing up online. Emily listed Mom's sapphire necklace on Facebook Marketplace. Dad's watch collection went to auction. Quiet desperation disguised as estate downsizing. But I wasn't moved. Because the house, the one I helped them qualify for, was still standing. And that house? That was leverage. When I co-signed the mortgage, I kept a silent clause in the agreement. One my attorney had buried in the fine print. If they defaulted or tried to sell without my consent, I had the right to seize and initiate forced liquidation. They never read it. I filed the paperwork that Friday. On Monday morning, they got a formal letter from the bank. Intent to initiate foreclosure. And now? They were calling every 5 minutes. Blocked. Mom emailed me a full essay titled, "How Families Should Treat Each Other." I skimmed the first line. "Tim, you've always been sensitive, but this is beyond." Delete. This wasn't sensitivity. This was strategy. They gambled on my silence, on my loyalty, on the fact that I'd never turn on them. But they forgot something crucial. And the house was just the start. Next came the liens. I wasn't bluffing. Through my attorney, we filed a UCC-1 lien, a formal claim on their remaining assets. Legal, enforceable, and very public. Now any attempt to sell, transfer, or leverage the house would trigger a flag. No loans. No refinancing. No escape. I didn't even have to be there. The paperwork did the talking. Dad finally cracked. He emailed me 2 words, "You win." But this wasn't a game. I replied with 1 line, "Repayment agreement." Written. Signed. Notarized. Or we proceed. He went silent for 2 days. Then I got a PDF, full of vague promises and emotional appeals. The usual manipulation disguised as compromise. So I sent back my own version, clean, legal, airtight. They'd pay me in installments over 18 months with interest. Miss 1 payment? I seized the house. They agree to drop any claims of emotional distress or unjust demands. And they acknowledge in writing that all funds were loans, not gifts. Emily called that night, shrieking, "This is disgusting, Tim. You're treating your own parents like criminals." "No," I said calmly. "I'm treating them like adults." She hung up on me. The next morning, the document came back. Signed. Notarized. No note. No apology. Just ink on paper. It was over. But not finished. They still had to pay. And now every payment they made would be a reminder. I wasn't their son anymore. I was their creditor. The first payment came late. Only by 3 days, but that was enough. I sent a warning letter through my attorney. Just a nudge, nothing aggressive. But it landed hard. Because now they were the ones living on edge. Checking their inboxes. Holding their breath. I wasn't angry. I was precise. They made the next 2 payments on time. Sold Dad's fishing boat. Liquidated a retirement fund. Quiet sacrifices. No one in their little suburban circle knew what was happening behind the white picket fence. But I did. Because I was watching. Then came the call from their bank. Ironic, really? Apparently, Mom had accidentally attempted to open a new joint account, using my name as a secondary signer. They claimed it was a mistake. I filed a fraud alert anyway. The fallout was immediate. Their accounts were flagged. Credit froze. And every payment after that required extra verification. They tried to act like it was all misunderstanding. But the truth was simpler. They only remembered me when something needed fixing. Car title issues? Call Tim. Tuition shortfall? Call Tim. Now they were stuck. And they hated it. One night I got a voicemail from Dad. His voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. "You've made your point. Can we be done now? We're still your family." I stared at my phone for a long time. Then I hit delete. No response. Because this wasn't about making a point. It was about finishing what they started. They couldn't stop me legally. So they tried something else. I got called into my manager's office on a Tuesday. HR was there too. That's never a good sign. "Tim, we've received a complaint. It claims you've been using company time and resources to harass your family with legal threats." I sat still. Calm. "Who filed it?" I asked. The HR rep shifted in her seat. It was anonymous, but it referenced personal financial disputes and suggested a pattern of concerning behavior. I almost laughed. They wanted to smear me. Strip my income. Starve me out. My manager looked uncomfortable. "We'll need to review your work computer." "Go ahead," I said. "You'll find 3 things: engineering specs, boring spreadsheets, and 12 years of me minding my own business." It took 2 days, but I was cleared. Clean record. No policy violations. HR apologized, sort of. My manager just nodded, said, "Take the rest of the day if you need." I didn't. I went back to my desk and finished a technical report ahead of schedule. Because while they were playing petty games, I was playing for keeps. I called my lawyer and added a clause to the repayment agreement. Any defamatory or retaliatory action will result in immediate full balance due. That night, I forwarded the documentation to my parents' lawyer. They'd wanted to play dirty. Now they were on notice. This wasn't personal anymore. This was legal war. After the HR stunt failed, they stopped pretending. The next payment didn't come. I waited exactly 48 hours. Then I filed a lien enforcement notice. They called me 4 times that day. I didn't answer, but I did CC their attorney on every single step of the foreclosure process. They thought I was bluffing. So I made it real. The bank scheduled an inspection. The house Mom's sanctuary, Dad's pride, was now tagged for forced liquidation. And suddenly their tone shifted from smug to desperate. Another call. This time from Emily. Please. Just give them an extension. You're ruining their lives. I asked one question. Did anyone say that when they filed a false report on me? When they tried to break into my bank account? When they reported me to my job? Silence. Then, you're not like them, Tim. Don't stoop to this. But I wasn't stooping. I was cleaning up. 3 days later, the house hit a private sale listing. Below market value. Fast. They needed cash, not pride. Gone were the cruise brochures taped to the fridge. Gone were the golf memberships, the wine subscriptions, the performance SUV Dad used to wash by hand every Saturday morning like it was sacred. I didn't lift a finger. I just watched the unraveling. When the wire transfer hit my account, it was exactly $38,770 short. I smiled and hit send on the final penalty notice. They weren't done paying. Not yet. They couldn't stop the foreclosure, so they tried to rewrite the story. I started getting strange messages. People from back home. Distant cousins. Old church friends. Suddenly they were worried about me. Heard I was suing the family. Heard I'd gone off the deep end. I knew exactly where it came from. Mom. Her new hobby? Playing victim on Facebook. Long, weepy posts about how some people value money over blood. About sacrificing everything for your children and getting stabbed in the back. She even posted a childhood photo of me with the caption, "He used to be so sweet." I don't know what happened. What happened? You used me until I stopped letting you. They were trying to paint me as cruel, greedy, broken. But here's the part they never expected. I didn't care. Because while they were telling stories, I had receipts. I kept every message, every voicemail, every transaction, every document. If they pushed it public, I'd take it public. And the truth? It was a hell of a lot uglier than anything I'd done. So I sent one final email. Subject line, defamation and repayment clause enforcement. I attached screenshots, dates, legal citations, and ended it with one sentence. If this doesn't stop, I will go to court and I will win. They went silent. And the next week, the final wire came through. In full. $203,480. Paid. But I wasn't finished yet. There was one last thing I needed to do. I waited until everything cleared. The debts. The audits. The silence. Then I made a call. To my father. He picked up on the second ring. Quiet. Cautious. Tim. Yeah. A pause. Like he didn't know which version of me he was about to get. I kept it simple. You free Tuesday night? For what? Bowling. Another long pause. Then finally, yeah. Sure. We hadn't bowled together since I was a teenager. Back before life got complicated. Before I became their retirement plan in a hoodie. We met at a rundown alley outside town. No one knew us there. No mom. No Emily. Just two men with too much silence between them. We didn't talk about the house. Or the money. Or the legal war. We just played. Frame after frame. He wasn't bad. Still had his old curve. Still muttered to himself after every gutter ball. Halfway through the game, he sat down next to me. Looked older than I remembered. Smaller. You really did all that by yourself? He asked. Every form. Every dollar. He nodded slowly. Looked down at his shoes. I guess we underestimated you. I didn't reply. Because that's the thing. They never really saw me. Not for who I was. Only what I could provide. When the game ended, I shook his hand. And I walked out. Not angry. I didn't drive home right away. I sat in the car for a while. That bowling alley exit was the last door I'd ever walk through with any of them. No big speech. No confrontation. Just the quiet truth settling in my bones. I was free. I opened my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and deleted them one by one. The next morning, I filed a name removal request on the co-owned utilities and the old mailing address. I scrubbed myself clean from every file, every tie. Then I opened one last app, my email. There it was. One final message. From Mom. You've broken this family. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. I just blocked the address. Because I wasn't interested in one more monologue about how she felt. I wasn't there to hold guilt anymore. Or be their scapegoat. Let them cry about betrayal. Let them whisper about how I changed. They'll never admit it. But deep down, they know. I didn't change. I just stopped playing the role. 3 months passed. No payments left. No calls. No letters. Just peace. I'd moved. Quietly. No forwarding address. New locks. New phone. New morning coffee in a place where no one knew my name and no one expected anything from me. For the first time in my life, I had no debt, no obligations, and no invisible leash around my neck. And still part of me expected it. The knock. The message. The next demand. But nothing came. Because without my money, without my name on the documents, without access, they had no tools left. No leverage. No use for me. I wasn't their golden goose anymore. I was a ghost. One afternoon, I walked past a bowling alley, not the old one, a different one. Younger crowd. Neon lights. New energy. I didn't go in. I didn't need to. I'd had the conversation I needed to have. I'd looked my father in the eye and seen what I needed to see. He wasn't sorry. He just lost. And that was enough. That night, I poured myself one glass of that same scotch I bought on my 30th, unopened until then. I raised it in the silence of my new apartment. No family photos. No guilt. Just me. And a future no one else owned. I disappeared for good.